Hey everyone, some warmer weather has finally arrived. After many weeks of negative temperatures being super duper cold, we finally have 3 days now that don't even go below freezing at night. Today's high is about 48, very nice. And for the next week, we have decent days, warm out, and it gets down pretty cold at night. Perfect weather for maple syruping. It's only February. Typically, you would say that it's too early, especially being this far north. But typically here you tap maple trees in March, April. March is only a couple weeks away, so I think we're going to start. The worst that could happen is the trees don't really produce much for a couple weeks. But we'll get the system set up and we'll be set for the entire spring. A couple of maple syrup farms in the area have already started pumping the trees, and I'm going to set everything up. So we haven't made a video of this in a couple of years. I haven't done it in a couple of years. I've done this maybe 6 times in my life, and the most we ever produced was like a gallon. We're not any serious operation, but we're going to do things a little different this time. I like to use my old-fashioned manual crank drill. I can't find it. I don't know where it is. It's a beautiful Craftsman drill that's stainless steel with these nice cherry wood handles. I have no idea where it went. I'm sure I'll stumble across it someday, but we'll have to use the electric drill today since I can't find it. With the warmer weather, I've also been using evergreen. Evergreen doesn't produce as much heat. It also doesn't burn as long. This stove with hardwoods can go over a day without touching it. Well, it completely stalled out on me overnight with evergreen. That's why people don't like using it. It's not because of the myth that it creates chimney fires. It's just not very great for a fire. But because it's warmer out, might as well get rid of some of our junky wood. So I got these covers. We're going to drill a hole in the top of each one so we can send a hose through. The last time I made a video like this, we used these teeny little hoses with these taps into the tree. We're not going to use that this time because those taps seem to break a lot. This time we actually have beautiful metal taps that are antique. I found a whole bucket of them for like 20 bucks at a estate sale recently. So we got these larger hoses. We absolutely don't need a hose that large, but it fits over the tap nicely. The taps I bought are meant for you to hang a bucket on them. These aren't maple sugar buckets, so I might smash the plastic handle off it and kink it so it sits on it nicely. Bought a second one just in case. Got some hose clamps just in case. When we actually get out to the tree, we'll see how we actually want to do it. So we're going to wait on the drilling until we're actually out in the woods because I don't know exactly where the placement of the hole would be best yet. Maybe we'll just make a hole that the spigot can drip into. We'll try that with a few. I bought 5 buckets here. I can go out and buy as many more as I might need. We'll see. I'm happy to have found a massive bucket worth of them. But we're going to put everything we might need into one of the buckets now. And we're going to go off into the woods. I'll also bring my angle cutters out there to cut the hoses out in the woods. And I think that's really all we need. Oh, we need a hammer. And a screwdriver just in case we need the hose clamps. I don't think we need them though. Those are good to have around too, even if I don't need them. The snow is really melting fast. Look, we can even start to see the grass. This is my firewood trail where I go out there with wagons to bring in all these logs, split them, burn them. But this is what I got at a yard sale. A whole bunch of these taps. Some of them are in great shape, some are rusty, doesn't really matter. These are the tiny little lines we used the last time we were tapping trees. Now these are buckets that are actually made for sugar tapping, or maybe they're not. Someone may have just made this hole, but this is how they're supposed to be set up right here. See how that is supposed to hold on to the tree like that, and then there's a cover that goes over it. Yeah, I think that these buckets, when they were in use, maybe had a different kind of tap, because you're supposed to be able to get the bucket off and dump it into a bigger container. But for the life of me, I can't get these things apart. I've tried prying. They just don't want to come apart right now. But I'd rather use the plastic ones because when I'm out of town, they're a lot bigger. Okay, we're definitely tapping this tree. I had the most success with this tree last time, despite it being one of the smaller ones we tapped. This is where the tap was 3 years ago. It actually healed itself in the first couple months of spring, but you can still see that scar it made. It doesn't really hurt the tree though. Don't tap near that place again. So you want to be in one of these little ridges of the tree. The rule is maybe 8 inches over, 8 inches up. This is where we're going to tap it today, right there. All right, you want to put the drill at a little bit of an angle so it can trickle out. All right, we made a nice hole, about 1.5 inches deep. Take the tap. Nice and snug, but not too snug. You want to be able to have a spot to pry it back out in the spring. That seems pretty good. I don't think that the bucket can pull that out. Maybe we can bend it without having to remove the handle. Once it has a little bit of fluid in there, it won't do this, but I'm afraid it's going to blow off the tree. You know what? We're going to try it just like that. Get a cover. Want to drill a hole right about there. Change out the drill bit. Nice hole. Think I want to use a piece of hose to direct it. Just a really small spout, maybe 5 inches. Look at that, it's even got a natural curve to it. Nice. We got rain coming tomorrow. This will keep the rain out. Rain won't hurt it. You'll just have to boil more of it. So with a maple tree, if we collect 40 gallons, we'll get 1 gallon just about maple syrup. You got to boil down 40 gallons to get 1 concentrated gallon of syrup. That's the rule. You can do it a little thinner, you can do it a little thicker. If you make it too thick, it'll crystallize into like a candy or just sugar. But unless you burn it, it's hard to wreck it. If you overcook it, it becomes too thick, just add water, stir it, and you're good to go. You can reverse it as long as you don't burn it. I think this will be a good setup, honestly, what we just did. This seems good. Yeah, I don't think it's going to pull out. Even if it does, we'll pound it a little tighter. So like I said, it is a bit early in the year, and even if this doesn't start dripping today, it'll probably start dripping in the next coming weeks. So we should be good. I think this right here is also us tapping it again on a different occasion, but we're a good distance away from it. Only time will tell if this is actually gonna be good. We might even have to wait until another month to make this video. But I knew this was a good tree in the past. I've used it a few times. And let's go off into the woods and find a few more. I don't have many maple trees, but we'll see what we can find. Like that maple tree I'd say is a little bit too small. I'm not gonna try that one this year. What I just did seems like the best option, so I'm gonna make a whole bunch of the same thing. Then when we go off into the woods, we don't have to carry all these tools to the faraway trees that I want to give a try. There's a couple massive ones that aren't on my property, right next to the property. We're gonna go ahead and tap those. The neighbor doesn't really care if I'm on his property doing stuff, so we're gonna go ahead and try that. Yep, okay, we're just gonna drill them all at once. Nice and easy. Nice. Another reason I didn't want to do it in the middle of the woods is because of all this plastic dust. I want to be able to throw it out and not just leave it on the forest floor. I don't like seeing all this plastic here. Clean it off, deburr it. Look at this one's all wet, so that's gonna make a mess right there. This bucket I'll hose out before I bring it back. Yeah, I better hose this one out too. All right, let's make a bunch of those little 90-degree angles. We need 5 of them. We're only gonna try tapping 5 trees today. Maybe we'll add more as we get closer to spring, but it's still winter. I guarantee you we're gonna get more negative days, and all that's gonna do, even if we are successful this week, it's just gonna pause everything. It won't damage anything. Won't damage the tree, it won't damage our parts. It'll just pause everything. All right, so we got this massive one here. Got a big canopy. This one right here has got a decent canopy, also very big. Those are slightly off the property line. That's the corner of the property actually right there. I think we're gonna tap this tiny one here because, I don't know, in my experience, some of the smaller ones produce better, and I think it's because the older ones might not be growing as fast anymore. I don't know. But we're gonna give that big one a try there. We're also gonna give the smaller one here a try. It's best if you can find one with a large branch. Can you tap it right below the branch? But in the woods, that's hard to find. I don't think we have many trees like that. That one's got a bigger branch, but you also don't want to choose a tree that looks sick or rotting like that one. But when I get closer to it, maybe we'll put a third one there. I don't know about this one. Sometimes it's good to put one right below a joint like that, but I also see a little bit of rot. Doesn't look like the healthiest tree. So I think we're gonna go to the one right behind it. That one right there looks very big. Okay, we'll definitely try it. This is my last bucket, so everything got to go in my pockets. I like this side of it. We'll give this a try. Some trees just don't produce sap. The last time I made a video, I tapped about 5 trees. Only one of them gave substantial sap. And it was enough sap, this was overflowing every single night. It was that first tree. But again, it might be too early in the year at my elevation for this. Oh my gosh, this is the best one yet. It's already dripping. Watch, you'll see it dripping right down the tube in a minute. Oh, wow. And if you get a good tree like this that wants to give you sap, you can tap it like 3 or 4 times at once. Just make sure your spigots are maybe a good foot or so apart. I got good hopes for this tree. There's no plastic, there's just like organic stuff in the bucket. But you can filter everything before if you care about that kind of thing. I'm excited. This one's already given us sap. If any of the other ones end up not producing, I'll put more on this tree. I could tell it looked healthy from a distance. I knew I saw the sugar farmers doing this already this year. Look at that. See that little line? I hear it dripping. Who knows, we might even start boiling this week if we can get enough of this. I'm liking this tree. If those other ones don't start producing, I'll move them. And if I realize they start producing later in the year, I'll put another bucket at them. Okay, I'm getting better at this. And this one's also not dripping off the bat, but I have high hopes for it because the one that was just really, really dripping, you could feel it. It was wet going into the tree. The drill bit went into it so easily. It was very moist in there. So that's why I didn't film this one, because of all the growth. But it's got a good canopy, so maybe it's healthy enough to make us some sap. But honestly, we'll check back in a couple of weeks. If none of these started producing, we'll move maybe 2 more buckets to that very active tree. That tree is so big, it's hundreds of feet away and I can see its canopy. Maybe that's why. But all I know is every time I've tried tapping this property before, I've had the best luck from that first tree, which hasn't even started yet, amazingly. Maybe we could try tapping it again in another location. These holes we're drilling in the trees heal within the first couple months. Trees produce a surplus of sap. It doesn't hurt the trees unless they're sick, but if they're already sick and can't heal that hole, and you're not really the one that started the problem. This camera is not active, but I should probably set it back up. This is the bridge. We probably still got about a foot of snow on the ground. It's melting fast. We had twice as much not less than a day ago. I think we're going to be down to almost nothing by the end of the week with these warmer temperatures. But then this weekend, we got a day that's -10. So winter's not over yet. It can snow in this area through the entire month of May. I've never tried this tree. I don't exactly have the highest hopes for it, but it does have one of those branches I described, and we don't have many maple trees here. It's possible, you can even look in the hole and you can tell if it's wet. Deeper in there, it's wet. Remember, if you drill super deep into a tree, you could still get sap out, but it can't heal in the middle. The middle of the tree is no longer alive, only the outer maybe inch or two. It looks damp in there, so we'll set it up. If nothing happens in the next couple weeks, we're gonna move it. So it's pretty easy. This syrup here, you're going to be boiling it, which sanitizes anything. So you want to try not to get grit or dust in the buckets, but if you do, it's not a big deal as long as it's not plastic. If it's wood or little pieces of natural stuff, it doesn't matter. You're going to be sanitizing it. Nothing yet, but in a couple weeks, if it's still not producing, we're going to move it to that one successful tree, which we're on our way to right now. So if you're tapping trees at home, don't be discouraged. There's all kinds of ways to tap trees. You can have the bucket on the ground with a longer hose, which we did last time. We made homemade taps that aren't even made for trees. It was successful. I would advise do not buy the plastic ones. You can't get them out of the tree usually without breaking them. Don't use aluminum ones. They can also break off in the tree. The rust on these taps is not going to hurt you. It's not going to turn your syrup a nasty color. If your syrup is a nasty color, which I have had before, the tree usually has rot in it if the tree's producing discolored syrup. What you get in these, the sap should be absolutely clear. It should only turn brown when you boil it and concentrate the sugar. Later in the year, it's going to be darker. Earlier in the year, your syrup is going to be light brown. It's completely normal. Usually tastes the same. But different trees can actually produce unique syrups. They'll all taste slightly off of each other usually. So this one, not producing yet, and based on the weather, I honestly think most of these should be producing, so maybe I'll move some of them earlier. But this one back here is a success. I would honestly put 3 of them on that one. I might end up moving these. Maybe we'll give that one a shot because it's also big and similar to that one. So even if you only have one maple tree in your yard, honestly, give it a shot. If it's healthy, it'll heal itself right back up. You can also put up multiple on one tree. The first time I ever tapped trees was with my dad when I was a kid, and he made a homemade tap out of a little metal pipe with a hole drilled through it with a nail to hold a milk jug. It worked. You just had to fill it up often. Yeah, this tree is awesome. Look at that. You can literally hear it dripping. There's a steady stream. Yeah, this tree is successful. We're probably going to move more buckets onto just this one. Or you can also have multiple taps with hoses going to one bucket if you choose to do that. But you're going to have to empty it more often. Maybe we'll put 2 buckets with 4 taps. That sounds most reasonable. Then you're even when you're carrying them through the woods. It's a lot easier to carry 2 full buckets than it is 1 because you're well balanced. So yeah, maybe we'll do that. I'm going to buy more today, more buckets. We got enough hose. We certainly have enough taps. We just need a few more buckets. And then you boil them down. Don't boil it in your house. It'll leave a sticky residue all over your walls if you boil a lot of it. Do it outside, on a grill, a fire, or I use a propane burner with a 10-gallon pot. And I just keep topping it off until all my syrup's gone. And it does take all day, yes, so make sure you have probably 2 propane cylinders. And I'm going to end the video here. When we actually are boiling, I will post another duplicate video with a longer ending of actually producing it, tasting it, making pancakes. But until then, I'm going to post this video early, giving everyone a chance to start producing maple syrup for themselves before it's too late. My video will probably be in a month or 2. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. So I'm going to buy a few more buckets, definitely, but I'm also going to move a few of them to better trees. I just moved one to this tree. I didn't buy another bucket. This one's running like a faucet. This one started running immediately. You see that? It's already forming in the pipe a whole bunch of sap that'll trickle down into there. I made sure there's no dips big enough where it can freeze solid. This one over here is also immediately started dripping. So yeah, this tree is our best tree of the year. So some trees might be good on one year and not good on another, but this tree is probably our best one of the year, and I wouldn't be surprised if this one here can get us 10 gallons in the next day. Wouldn't be surprised. Of course, the best tree is in the most difficult spot to get to. We have multiple dead trees we gotta walk through, gotta walk over them. Of course it is, that far away. But there's lots of trees that we could try, and I guess there's no harm in just drilling random holes, testing trees before we tap them. Since if the tree's healthy, it's gonna seal that up really quickly, and if it's not healthy, then that tree was gonna die anyways. And these little holes, they heal actually quite fast. The scar, you can notice it years later, but it heals shut like a wound on yourself. Just like a lot of wounds on yourself, you can still see years later, but it heals. Yeah, this one's unbelievably dry. Nothing, I'll probably move this one. This tree used to produce 5-gallon buckets worth every single day, but nothing this year. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt for a little bit longer. Hour later, let's check this one. Nothing. Of course, not a single one that's actually on my property wants to produce. As you see, 90% of the trees here are evergreens. We don't have really any large maples. I'm sure that I have more of them that will produce. The thing is, we gotta test them all at some point this week. Just do test holes and see if anything comes out. Because in this weather, everything should be running. I don't think it's too early.